class. And so when you're practicing with me and doing different answers, I want you to like put on a different character and see if we can find a character that fits. Because ultimately, what I think this reviewer is asking is he wants you to be more like he wants you to be, not how you are. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So, like everyone, I do it. I have to like, especially with certain students, not as much with you because I've gotten to know you better. I feel like I can just talk. But I have to put on a certain character when I teach sometimes as well, because either I speak too fast or I'm too easygoing and I need to be, more academic driven. So I have to put on different masks for different students. So you're going to have to figure out what mask to put on that gets you the score that they want. And I think that you kind of need to put on a persona that's very chatty. Does that make sense? Where you're just like, oh my God. So there was this one time, like you see, like getting that kind of like teenage girl quality.
I'm gonna put on the personality of a Los Angeles Valley girl. I don't know.
Maybe. Let's see how it works. Why not? Go for it. Like
I'm
swing
gonna
for
start.
the
I'm gonna
fences, as
start
we
it.
say.
Yeah, I'm gonna start to change my accent right now, like from this point of view, from as we speak right now.
Yeah, do. And see, because honestly, I just think that he had an expectation. And if, like I said, I'm not happy with their expectations they put on you, but we have to work with it.
Okay.
Pronunciation, that's really interesting. Because I'll tell you when I don't understand, but um, I was a little confused by this band.
Yeah, I don't
I
know. I feel like the final consonant are pretty good for me. I don't
consonants.
know.
You don't use your S sound enough. Have you noticed that? Because you said the final consonant R, and it should have been consonants,
Okay.
right? So it's good that you're recording this, so maybe catch it. I'll try to be really like focused on that. Um, But honestly, a lot of people with certain accents don't pronounce final consonants. It's a certain accent, and they're not supposed to take points off for accent. So I don't also I kind of feel like if you get a different reviewer, you're going to get a different result. But I will still pay attention. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I'm just annoyed. Um, okay, yeah. So band seven grammar is great. Are you wanting to do something even higher, or are you satisfied with band seven?
Of course, higher.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because sometimes, like, for instance, I guess what I'm saying is I want to know where my focus is. So if it's okay for today, though, I'm not going to focus as much on grammar. I'm going to try to really pay attention to your pronunciation and flow. Is that okay? Because
Okay.
your grammar is generally good. I'll make notes, maybe, but like I'm not going to like talk too much about them, but I'll make notes.
Well,
And your
just a
lexicon. Yeah.
question. Just two questions on grammar. So I understand all of the points that he mentioned, except the point of
So let me go back.
those types of massive space. I don't get it.
Spaces.
Yeah, those
Well,
types of massive spaces.
because in this case, you're not talking about, okay, there's two kinds of space, the countable and the uncountable. You tried to use the uncountable, and the vocab word was the countable one. So your grammar was wrong because you chose the wrong form. Space, uncountable, means outer space. That's what space is. Spaces means like actual like definable empty spots. It's like the same as spots, spaces. Like we can count. Here's an empty space, there's an empty space, there's an empty space.
Yeah, I
Make
was talking
sense?
about a park. Children like need children need the spaces to do physical exercises. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, you said types of, okay, so but also it says those mass, this would never be wrong, no matter what. Because see, those and space don't agree. So I think that he just gave you his, when you make a mistake like that, the person who's listening just has to make an assumption. Like for instance, you could have said space in the case that you just told me. He just made an assumption of how to fix it because this was wrong no matter what. Like
Okay.
if you would have said this type of massive space would also have been correct,
Would
you
also
know?
be would also be incorrect, right?
No, it would be also be correct if you said
Oh,
this. type. But see, you used those, so no matter what, it was incorrect.
Yes, because those matches with plural, right? A plural
Exactly.
form.
So he made the assumption that you wanted plural. Now, if I had assumed you wanted the uncountable, then I would have changed this. It's just his assumption. It
Hmm.
it it would have been right either way, however you corrected it. But this was always going to be wrong.
So can I say those massive spaces?
Yeah, I think you can. I would
Okay.
have to hear it in context, but I mean, that is a completely reasonable set of words. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and you also, your flow is going to be interrupted by, or not interrupted, it's going to be um dependent on your word choices. And so exactly, you need to find the word choices that fit your flow. Because if you say those types of massive spaces, it does lead to certain pausing. Versus if you said those massive spaces, you can eliminate the pause. So I think that your strategy is spot on. I support you in that. You might have been better off saying those massive spaces.
Okay.
Okay. Did you see I sent you some material because I was trying to like be proficient on time because I don't know how many exercises you would want to do, or if you want to do no exercises, just practice and I'll pay attention. Because I sent you some stuff on pronunciation activities, for example. So what did you think? Do you want to go over some flow and pronunciation activities today? Just,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes I avoid these just because they can be a little bit dry. But as you see, 25% of your score, you know that. Um, so the breaks that you do are what he's talking about. You do certain pausing, but again, do you think your pausing is do you notice you're pausing and is it because you're thinking? Or do you pause because like that's just happening and you never even noticed?
I think it's because I was thinking to make it right.
Because then this is what you do. You kind of do this. I went to the beach 2 weeks ago. My brother and I, we wanted to go inside to go to the swimming pool. It was really like, you do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
okay.
you'll start. So this is an example of what you do sometimes. It only usually happens at the beginning of your answers, I've noticed. Once you get going, I think you find your train of thought. A way to avoid that is to have a better outline. Do you know how I said like just do a quick outline when you're preparing? I know you can't do that for part one and part two, and that's annoying. But for part one and part three, but for part two, you can have a really good outline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, if you do need to pause, always try to pause around clauses. Do you understand? Like when you have your transition words, your linking word at the end of a sentence, pause at the clause, don't break a clause.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to you always need to have like train yourself to finish the thought. Any questions on that?
Can you give me an example of pausing at the clauses?
Okay, what did you do on your last birthday? Okay, I have to think really quick. What did I do? I don't remember. I'm just gonna talk about my 40th.
Even though
Okay.
I did not like, and then,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so okay, so I'm gonna just retell my last birthday was my 40th because I remember that. Well, my last birthday was a special one. So on my last birthday, I had some friends over for a potluck. It was awesome because I was so happy to spend a special time with special people. So you notice how I paused at the because. So yeah, like that. Does that help?
wow, I didn't expect you to be 40. I thought you were like in your 20s.
Are you going to judge me now? I had a student who like got really weirded out by it. Is it okay?
No, 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 it's fine. No.
Good. Honestly, I've kind of found I've met more people like me who are childless and we have a certain way of living, and yet we tend to be kind of like we have a certain personality. I don't know how to explain it. It's not that I'm not mature, it's just that I'm not weighed down by certain stresses.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to go ahead and do a practice? So read this,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And of course, these are pauses, so just kind of see how it feels.
So should I imitate the pauses?
Yeah, absolutely.
My last birthday was really fun. My father said that we would go to a restaurant for dinner. I dressed nicely and we got in the car and drove there. When we entered the restaurant, something looked different. There weren't any tables in the room. Then a band started to play some music and all my friends, well, around 20 of my schoolmates, started to come in. My parents had organized a party for me. It was just incredible.
So these were actually the best. The ones I underlined, I felt like you didn't need to do as much. When you pause, you compensate a pause by over accentuating words. Did you notice that? Like for instance, you kind of you it was a little awkward at the end here. You want to just get it a little bit quicker. My last birthday was really fun because you did it. My last birthday was really fun, you know? And it was like, okay. You paused awkwardly here. My father said, you don't need to. Just because there is the end of a clause doesn't mean you should pause there. What I was saying is if you need to pause to gather your thoughts, do it at the clauses, not that you have to. Okay? So I don't know if you felt like you had to or not, but you were adding these pauses that were unnecessary. You should have just been like, my father said that we would go to a restaurant for dinner. Just like that. It's just one continuous flow,
Oh,
right?
because I accentuate the D sound at said.
Oh, that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's like too
And
many things to work on
yeah,
at
all
one
of the
time.
things that you underline were me accentuating the ending sound.
Ah, that makes sense. Because I just said you overcompensate, accentuate, but you weren't overcompensating. That was your goal. I see. Doesn't work. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I want you to focus more on the pausing than the pronunciation right at this point. Okay, just don't worry. Not that you're not supposed to speak well, but don't overly focus on pronunciation. Let's push that aside for a little bit of later. Okay.
Mhm.
Because once you got to here, when I put the checks, this is where I particularly thought the flow was very nice. And everywhere, like yeah. So these D's. I'm so frustrated right now because the thing is too is that there's an accent. It's my accent that we don't say our D sounds overly much, right? Um, so for me, when you over accentuate that D, it's unnatural. And if you get a reviewer that's like that, then they're going to say that you're being awkward. So, okay. Do you want to do a quick like just practice and be absolutely honest? Don't make anything up,
Okay.
okay? It's not like a full answer, just 4 to 5 sentences. I'm just going to listen to your flow more than anything and some pronunciation if you overpronounce.
Yeah.
So, what did you do last weekend? Take your time to answer if you want to gather your thoughts like I did.
Um,
I mean, you could talk about last weekend or this weekend as you wish.
yeah. Last weekend I stayed home and rested because I was so tired after a full week of working. In the afternoon, I went for a swim in a nearby swimming pool. After that, I met up with some friends and caught up after a while. It was just a typical weekend, nothing too fancy. I think the goal was to rest as much as I could before starting another week.
Okay. I put a little, you notice how I to show you where you drag out words. You're like afternoon. I went like it you dragged it. I mean, I'm overemphasizing your dragging to make you be hyper aware. But you started out, yeah, it was to gather your thoughts and you have to launch into that sentence.
Mhm.
Okay, it was too many pausing. I stayed home and rested. And every time I have these things is where you did an awkward pause. So tired after a full week of working. Yeah, you got to push those together more. Okay? Like last weekend I stayed home and rested because I was so tired after a full week of working. Okay? Push them together more.
Can I try again?
Yes, absolutely.
Just give me one second.
Try not to no, but also be aware, don't drag those words. I went. in the afternoon. I want you feel this, okay, for your words. Okay, go ahead.
Last weekend, I stayed home and rested because I was so tired after a full week of working. In the afternoon, I went for a swim and then went home and watched some movies. After that, I met up with some friends to catch up with their news, and then the goal was just to rest before another week started.
Much better. You need more time to gather your thoughts. Um, Take the time that you need, get accustomed to it. I know you're not going to have all that time, but even those extra seconds are worth it. Taking a few extra seconds to start, even if the reviewer's waiting 10 seconds, is much better than riddling your answer with those pauses.
But
Make sense?
isn't it if if you wait too long to answer, they will deduct your fluency score.
I know that, but that's how I said better than. Like I wasn't saying that it's not a deduction. Remember, I said it's better that you do it at the beginning than riddling your answer with pauses. Then it's only one deduction versus multiple times that you do it. It's less noticeable. Make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying if you have to have a strategy to make it better, because you take that time if you need it.
Okay.
Um, okay, so good. Noon and swim are a little over accentuated, but otherwise fine. And then at the end, you had those pauses, but they were at clauses, so it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. And you could tell that I could tell that you were still just thinking about what you were going to say. So it was like one time versus many times. So it wasn't a big deal in my opinion, but I'm still noticing it. So, do you prefer reading or playing video games?
Mm. I prefer reading because it teaches me new information.
Start again. You see what you're doing? You're like, I prefer reading because it teaches me new information. That's what you did. Okay, so start again. Sorry, I'm kind of going in a bit hard. Am I making you uncomfortable?
No, 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 no,
Okay,
no.
good. Whew. Just realized that could have been a little aggressive. Go ahead.
Um, I prefer reading because it teaches me information about the world and my industry. I don't like to play video games because it is so violent. I also think video games are a waste of time because I have better options for entertainment, like listening to music and watching movies. Is that it? That's
Yeah,
cool. Okay.
it was better. There's a few things. There are a few sentences. You did the thing where you didn't have your D. I heard it. Okay. You said whirl instead of world. It
Yeah.
was one time. That was the only thing. But I told you I would notice it or I would point it out if I did. So I know we're not working on that right now, but that's what you did. You called video games an it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? So that was the thing he caught you on before is matching um the number.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the only time where you had those awkward pauses. You were like, video games are a waste of time because you had too many pauses there. So you would be, video games are a waste of time because like that. Okay. I
Can
don't
I
know how to
say
train.
can I
Yeah,
say
sorry.
the world thing again? Yeah. In a sentence.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, books teach me how to, well, sorry, that's not again. Books
Take
teach
your time.
me information about the world and the industry that I'm in.
Perfect.
Okay.
Second time was perfect, especially increasing that flow. Um, Yeah, ideally, maybe if we keep you going and having you repeat, ideally, we're training your mind to flow in a certain way. We'll see if that works. If not, we'll think of a new strategy.
Okay.
If you could travel anywhere in the world, which country would you choose?
Mm, okay. I would travel to Japan because this country is full of cultural heritage. Japan is also replete with wonderful foods such as sushi and pancakes. I love Japan because of the music as well. I tend to listen to Japanese artists when I feel down. I also like to travel Japan next year with my boyfriend because he is a big fan of Japan.
Okay. The flow is much better. Again, when it looks like it's more than it is, okay, because it's usually one sentence. There was a bit too much pause. Replete with, you kind of did that here. And then you went sushi and pancakes, and you know that you were thinking.
Yeah.
The only pronunciation issue is it very much sounded like you said, I feel downed. Like in that case, you added a D where it shouldn't have been.
Okay. I
But that's the
realize
only
it.
time. Oh,
Yeah.
you did? Okay. And then you always use travel to, like go to, travel to Japan. So that was just grammatical error there.
Oh wait, what did I say? Chapochu, Japan.
It did I could if you did say to, I didn't hear it. I heard travel Japan. That's all I heard. Travel Japan next year.
Mhm.
So it should be travel to Japan. So either it was a pronunciation error or a grammatical error. You decide, but it wasn't there.
Is repeat wrong?
No, there was nothing wrong with it. I put it there because of the pause.
Okay.
I like the replete a lot, actually. Like I said, your lexicon is great. You know. Okay. So there's also like incoherent speaking. I don't know though. I feel like you're not incoherent unless like when you make up stories, it becomes more like circular speaking. But I never found you incoherent. I just find that you'll sometimes get repetitive when you make up a story. Like you pretty much say like something was stressful 3 times. Like you just keep referring back to it. So it was really stressful, blah, 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 blah. And I was really stressed. Like you'll do things like that.
So I repeat certain words.
When you give, that's more in part two. It's not certain words, it's certain ideas. Because coherent is about ideas, the flow of your ideas, how the ideas flow one to the next so that you can follow your line of thinking. You know,
Mhm.
everything has a cause and effect or compare and contrast, whatever it is, all your strategies are coherent. Like you see here, it's like this book starts with people in a park. Well, actually they are on a train, but later they go to a park. So now I'm backtracking. And there's lightning. And it's like, okay, why is that important? My teacher told us to read this book and write about it. The people started to play football. The weather is really bad. Well, okay, first off, why is it is? And then this was started. So that's like what they mean by incoherent. It's really hard to follow that story because grammar is changing from past to present, you're backtracking, saying things that aren't relevant at the time. So
Mhm.
you have to reorder. But again, I don't think this is your problem except for part two when you make up your answers sometimes. Then sometimes like I might say or think, why is she saying that? But it doesn't happen often. But your bigger problem, like I said, is your circular thinking. Like
Okay.
you'll say, describe a book that you've read recently. Like you might say, I am reading a book in a series that's a sci-fi book. It's an epic story, like that. But you do cyclical. So you'll say like, okay, so it's about, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll say, so it's science fiction. And I really like science fiction. And then later on, you'll say it again. So it's a sci-fi story like that. You'll start repeating ideas. It's
Okay.
not the words. I'm repeating the words because I don't have enough time to think. Sometimes you use different words, but you're still saying the same idea. That doesn't help you. If you're trying to do that strategy to like get more lexicon, it's at the cost of your coherence. Because when you're cyclical, it backtracks.
Yeah. Can we
Makes
do a
sense?
part two to
Yeah,
practice? Words?
absolutely. Let's see. Maybe I don't do want to do advertisement, bad service, study, a photo.
Yeah, number four. Can we do number four?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm just going to copy and paste because okay, can't copy and paste. So,
Okay, I can see it. Yeah, I can see this. Okay, describe.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to make it bigger. Yeah, go ahead and plan. I'm just for crying out loud.
Oh, now I cannot see it. Okay,
I
now
know.
yeah, you can see it.
I'm done.
Before we start this, can I ask a question about the word uptick?
You can ask anything you want. It's your class, girl.
Yeah, so I'm practicing writing in a pie chart in anything with a percentage for task one. I
You
saw,
mean your practice writing about a pie chart?
yeah, I'm practicing writing about a pie chart, and then I saw this word uptake.
Yeah. An
Uh,
uptake in is an expression. It wouldn't be not necessarily the word, it should be an expression. An uptake in.
an uptake. So, for example, uh, there is an uptick in, so say the pie chart, Japan is like 30%, right? So if this is Japan 30%, how can I use the word uptick?
Well, I don't know what the context is, but I guess if you're saying like you first off, you have to have a comparison of two things to have an uptake. So let's say it's about the percentage of people who travel to Japan as their tourist destination. And just I don't know. So you could say in the past, or you could say like there was an uptake in the amount of people traveling to Japan, whereas in the past, in the past it was 15% of all people. Now it's 30%. I don't know, but in the amount of like that. So it's an uptake in the amount. It's an uptake in the frequency. Um,
Does it mean there is
things
an
like that.
increase?
I'm sorry.
Does it mean uptake is an increase?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
why?
an
Why does
uptake in
it?
the percentage. It's like you use it, you notice that I'm using it with certain words. Amount, frequency, percentage.
Mm,
Um, but I mean, there are other ways to do it. Like let's say it's about people checking into a hotel. I could say, well, there's always an uptake in reservations for the high season.
mm. So why does that
But
guy use the word so you can see the he just used it like a description word like oh, in 2007 there was a 30% uptick in the number of students, something like that. And he just reports 30%. There was no comparison or anything.
I mean, there is a comparison. It's just the comparison is implied. The comparison is an uptake, meaning compared to previous years. It's omitted, but it's there. It's
Mm,
always a comparison. Sometimes you're comparing something against itself, so you don't have to say it again. Like for instance, I've noticed an uptake in my coffee drinking. Well, I'm comparing my habits to the past, but I just don't have to say it.
okay. So
So
for
implied
example,
comparison.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So for example, the sales revenue of coffee in 2007 versus in 2017, right? In 2007, the number was, for example, 50 million. 2017, 60 million. I would say there was an uptake in the sales of coffee
Yeah.
after a decade, right?
Hmm.
So it's just the
Yeah.
same as an increase.
Yeah. But so you notice it's always a comparison. You just always don't have to make it obvious because most people can understand the implied comparison.
Okay.
Using implied language is actually one of the advanced usages of grammar, like knowing what to omit and how to imply. So it's a good strategy.
Mm,
The example you gave though, I don't like personally. It's not that it's wrong. I wouldn't say it that way because the expression is an uptake in. That's the expression. We don't usually use the word uptake as just in a word itself. Unless, like I'll say maybe there was an uptake and I'll omit in. Like I won't say, like if someone's like, so how were sales last month? Oh yeah, there was an uptake. I could say that. It's so weird, but yeah.
So, how would
But
you
I
say
don't, it's not the thing uptake is not an adjective. It's not.
it's a
It's a
noun?
noun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they did is made a compound noun, and I found it awkward personally. But that's just my personal view. Regardless, if you're going to use the word uptake, I would recommend using it in the proper form and uptake in, because that's the most common usage.
There was an
And
up
it shows collocation. Sorry.
yeah, there was an uptake in yeah, so these yeah.
Hmm.
And in the amount of in the frequency. Yeah, yeah, okay. And then
Yeah.
there was an uptake in the sales of coffee from 50 million to 60 million dollars.
Hmm. Now you have to start thinking about your flow as well, because it's interesting because you said the sales of coffee, which honestly was fine. But if you wanted if it was in the context in the middle of your speech, you might want to say in coffee sales because it flows faster. So you're going to have to start deciding how you're going to present word order to enhance your flow. You weren't wrong. I was just giving you an idea of what you should focus on.
Okay.
So start playing with the certain expressions. Like if you say, "Hey, I want to do this again. I want to change some word order," then do it, you know?
Hmm.
Anyway, okay, so you have like a certain
Okay.
like 30 seconds to prepare. Take as much time as you want, all right? Because we're focused on coherence and fluency, not time. And then tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going
Um,
to time you just for that. But yeah, go ahead.
um, okay. I'm not a big fan of advertisement, but I saw this one advertising banner on a website that I found incredibly useful. It was an ad for a cleanser, and it was only 6 seconds long, but chocked full of information. It highlights the benefits of the cleanser, and it was so straight to the point that a very straightforward person like me um, are fully aware of its benefits, even though it lacks a bit of humor. I think it is very successful in capturing the attention of the people who browse the web. In the ad, we can see the product in the middle. Surrounding it are benefits such as its antioxidants, ingredients, its usage, and the research that backs it up. Overall, I think more ads should be like this because most ads, most advertisements are too long. Therefore, we tend to skip them without even knowing about its advantages of the products. Uh, that's it.
Okay. So is it something that I hate these because yeah, who cares about an advertisement? Was this really a product that you've seen?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, so yeah, on ones that you're less certain about, you do a lot of breaks, a lot. Um, you wouldn't say advertising banner as well. If you want to use the word advertising to help the flow, it would be something like, yeah, I once saw this banner on a website advertising a product like that, you see? So I'm using it as a descriptor, not advertising banner. Make sense? The banner is advertising.
hmm,
A lot of these breaks aren't, I put a lot of like dots to show the break, but it doesn't indicate the length. A lot of your breaks are quite short, but they're very pronounced. Like you'll be on a website that I found, and then, oh, and it's not, you said chocked full, and it should be just chock full.
chock full,
That's it.
chock
Yeah,
full.
chock full. You don't want to push those words together as well. Chock full sounds like it's like full of chalk. Like, do you know what I mean?
Chock
It
full.
should be chock full.
Yeah.
Um, you did a thing, you interrupted your coherence by going into past and present. You were in and out of it. You would say it highlights, it lacks,
Yeah.
and you should have, well, I mean, it says what it shows. It's an advertisement that is useful, but you made it into a story. Do you see what you did? So it was really difficult for me as the listener to make decisions on how, like, I would have a hard time knowing how to score you because you had two competing strategies. One is that you told it as an experience, which had passed, but the question clearly shows that it's more of like just describing something in the moment so it can be present because it's more factual and opinion based,
Hmm.
right? But I don't, you went to between them, so I don't know what to follow. Um, if I had been you, I wouldn't have done the story strategy. Okay, I would have just talked about the advertisement as if it's in our heads right now. We're just analyzing it in this moment. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, I
Um,
should pick one. Yeah, like you said, I should pick one strategy and follows one like grammar point, right?
yeah, and I would have stuck with the grammar that's in the question or the prompt, not the
Yeah,
question.
present simple. Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, advertisements are so annoying, but I would just go with an advertisement I see a lot. So I might just say, honestly, I'm not sure if this advertisement is useful. Well, yeah, see, and even I'm losing my train of thought. This is really hard because I like to have like a plan. That's another thing though. You didn't do your plan. Where's your plan? See, I would have had a plan. But I'm thinking, okay, I would say, well, right now I'm thinking about an advertisement I often see from the clothing online clothing store Bon Prix. I don't know if it's useful so much as it's interesting to me and it's always eye-catching. I can often see it as a banner on the top or on the sides of certain websites because of targeted advertising. It usually shows some clothing that's in season, which is why I find it slightly useful because I see a summer dress or a cute pair of sandals and I think, oh, do I need a new summer dress? I did just think about replacing my sandals. And so it actually attracts my eye and makes me think about what I need. That's
Yeah.
true too. It's the worst because every time I buy way too many clothes, they know what they're doing, man.
Mm. Can I say it again?
You can do whatever you want, and I think you should, but I think you should take your time, and make a little outline because I want you to know where you're flowing to, and I just want to know if that will help you with your pausing. If you know where your roadmap is and what you're going to do, instead of thinking, okay, I got to say more. What can I say more? You know? So give
Hmm.
yourself little categories. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to put my head down and listen.
Mm. I'm not a fan of advertisement, but there is this one advertisement that I think it's very effective. It is on a website, and it advertised a cleanser. Um, it shows the cleanser in the middle of the banner. Surrounding it are benefits such as having lots of antioxidants, its usage, and its very affordable price. I think it works because even though it lacks a good sense of humor, it is very straightforward, which is good for people like me who tend to skip ads when I see them online. Um, I honestly wouldn't mind this ad if I saw it in real life because I think this is a very useful ad and it's straightforward. It provides all information I know before I make a purchase. I think more ads should be like this one because most of them are too long for our attention span. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. It's better. It's just, yeah, it's tricky, dude. You just have to get used to talking about inane topics. I think that would be better. Like, we need to start just randomly talking about the silliest, stupidest thing. Like, just pick up something like really around you. Get used to this, do this exercise, and just start talking about, yeah, I remember the time like I decided to buy these metal cups. You know how most people they want to have like plastic cups because they won't break and they're cheap, or they want to have glass because they're pretty. And I didn't want plastic because it was bad for the environment, and I didn't want glass because I kept breaking them and it was just a mess. So I decided to try these plastic or these metal cups. And like just they're rambling. I want you have the opposite problem. Most people ramble, you don't ramble.
Uh,
So I want in a moment, I want you to do that. I want you to look around you, look and just pick up something and start talking about it. Just a stream of consciousness. I want to get you into that mode so you feel it because you don't have a stream of consciousness. It's you, but we have to put on Valley Girl. You haven't put on Valley Girl. You're still wearing Mai. And Mai is thoughtful and interesting and takes her time to say something. And I like Mai, but they don't want Mai, they want Valley Girl.
no, but if I ramble, you would say I make up stories again.
Huh?
If I ramble, you may say that I make up stories again. I may
I
leave
don't
off.
want you to make up stories. I want you to ramble the truth. I told you the truth. I wasn't making anything up. That's the reason why I bought this cup.
So I may
I
say
want
some.
to ramble consciousness. Okay, wait. So hold on. We'll come back to that. But here, look. So this is what you're breaking. When I said break at the clause, don't break the clause. The coordinator needs to go with the second clause. You break it before. So you break things before because or and it that needs to go with it. It should have been because I think, not because I think. You see? You see
Because
what you're doing?
this is a straightforward.
This one was a pronunciation thing. I think you were really concerned about the word advertisement, and so you kept like separating it from its sentence. You did it twice. Like you did it the first time, but I didn't write it, but you said advertisement very pronounced twice. Okay. I think and then you said you said it advertised. It should be advertises, right?
Mhm.
And then you said it shows, and then you had this pause, the cleanser, and then you had a pause, having, like later. Um, and then you had lots of, and then you went into benefits and things. And then you had a pause before skip ads. I skip ads, and you paused when I see blah, 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 because. So yeah, you said the reason I wrote straightforward is because you said straightforward twice. I noticed it. So that was your cyclical thinking. You went back to repeating. You started out with it, you liking it because it's straightforward, and at the end, when you didn't know what to say, you did the cycle. You cycled it back.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, all right. So ramble. Pick up tell me around you. Tell me something about it.
Um, after, well, I said I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind this ad.
Mind. Mhm.
I wouldn't mind if I saw this ad in real life. It means that I have never seen this ad before.
The
Isn't
word
wrong?
ew. No, but your mind operates differently when you're trying to get information. Like I genuinely, it took me a bit to get going, right? Totally. Which is what I told you. If you're going to pause, do it at the beginning. I did it when I was trying to think of that Bon Prix ad. I was like, how do I get this started? But once I started, I just kept going because I was just thinking about that, actually seeing this advertisement constantly because I do.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want a stream of consciousness. Look around, like I don't know. Tell me
Also,
about.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if I if I if I finished my current cleanser, I would buy this in a heartbeat because this really convinces me to purchase, right?
you're still doing your pauses. But we're not talking about that anymore. I'm talking about like practice a stream of consciousness about something around you. Like, tell me about your haircut. It's
Well,
cute. It frames your face nicely, but tell me about the process behind that. Like, why this haircut?
I just show it to the no hairdresser and told her to imitate the picture.
So I show a picture, not it. You can't start with it, right? I show a picture to the hairdresser and tell her to imitate it. Switch
Yeah.
those. But stream of consciousness, keep going. Like why? Why choose that style? And are you always satisfied with how it comes out?
Um, I was not very happy with it because it looks a bit choppy for my liking, and I thought that I would just, if I had been wiser, I would have left the last hairstyle I was in. I would
Do
have
you mean the last hairstylist?
I would kept I would kept the last hairstyle.
Oh, I would have kept the same hairstyle.
Yeah, the same hairstyle.
I
Um,
like it though. Why did you decide to make a change?
because it's in the summer, and if I have long hair, I will feel too hot. And
Because now it's summer, not it's the summer. Mhm.
because now it's the summer, if I keep my long hair, I will feel too hot and unproductive.
Ooh, this is a great third conditional opportunity. If I had kept longer hair,
If I
I
had,
would have felt.
yeah,
See,
if I had kept longer hair, I would have been unproductive and yeah.
been unproductive. What do you mean by that?
Oh, if I had kept, I would have been too uncomfortable and hot.
I'm actually just trying to get you moving. I want the stream of conscious to start flowing to the point where I'm like, okay, stop talking.
Yeah,
You know? See,
yeah,
this is what you're doing. I want I want you to get so accustomed to just rambling from one idea to the next that you can do this about any topics, even if it's really, really boring. Like when they tell about a time that you received an unexpected gift, and you're just like, okay, you have to get so good at rambling, you
mm,
know? Where you're
okay,
like, well, honestly, this isn't a big deal, but I remember when my friend was ordering McDonald's and she ordered me some French fries. And I wasn't really expecting to have French fries, but it happened that I was so hungry and it smelled so good. And then when she said those French fries are for me, I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I am so happy right now. You see, I'm just rambling. I'm just continually going.
okay. Yeah,
Um,
I can try. Can you ask me a bunch more questions so I can ramble?
yeah. Sorry. Okay. Uh, well, tell me. Okay, one, I can't stop admiring those windows and the trees outside, and I'm curious, like, what's going on here? It's so beautiful. Talk to me.
Oh, this is just my house.
Mm,
My uncle, who is an architecture, designed it, and it has 5 floors and a garden right beside it.
what?
And yeah, I this is like a safe haven for me after a long day of work because I can chill in the garden looking outside the window, seeing the birds and the flowers. I also can dance and walk around the floors without disturbing my neighbor, unlike when I lived in
You
an
only have one neighbor?
my neighbors.
Okay.
uh, unlike the time I was living in an apartment last year. Yeah, honestly, it is a good house to live in because
To live in? Mm.
it is very spacious and I don't feel confined at all. And yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade this house for anything in the world. And even if someone gave me $1 million to move to another house,
Dollars.
dollars to move to another house.
Really? $1 million. You'd say no to $1 million.
Yeah, I love this house.
I wonder if you could sell it for $1 million. Anyway, go back and listen to that because that was perfection. I mean, yeah, you had those few pronunciation errors, which we're going to work on later. Don't worry about that. But your flow was perfect. Did you feel it?
Yeah,
You
but
you broke yeah, sorry.
okay. Yeah, I didn't enunciate the sounds. I think I missed a few ending sounds.
Only twice. I don't care about that. Your flow, your flow was so distinctly different than anything you had done today. Go back seriously and listen. You had such gorgeous flow. It was just coming out of you and it was so natural. I felt like we were having a real conversation. If you go and compare that to how you usually answer, you're going to see a very distinct difference. And what you just did, that's what they want.
Okay.
That's what they're catching you out on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm just gonna pick up a topic quick here. Um, Talk about a drawing or painting that you like. Just what comes to mind. It has to be real.
Mm-hmm. I really like Starry Night by Van Gogh because it
S-
depicts the
Starry
mo
Night. Mhm.
because it depicts the very unstable mental state that Van Gogh was in. I first saw it when I was about 15 years old in my art class, and honestly, it was shocking at first because the painting looked unreal and a bit scary to me. However, over the course of time, I started to appreciate the arts more after hearing about the backstory. He was in like a mental
Asylum.
asylum and was struggling with depression. Um, but he kind of overcame that by drawing this masterpiece with brilliant brushstrokes and very vivid colors.
He didn't overcome it though. It's a
Yeah,
sad thing.
I was just making that up. Anyway, but yeah, I think this painting really highlights the hallucinations of mental health patients, and I understand why it is still preserved for posterity because it is such a wonderful painting. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you had really good flow. There were a few, yeah, because we're focusing on flow, I don't want to interrupt you, and that's good. Okay, so once we get that flow into something that's so natural, we can work on other things. Um, you say he a lot though, so make sure you sometimes use the name because it was like you said Van Gogh once and then it was he throughout the whole entire thing. But what about honestly, so you described the picture and you described the history of the picture, but it's about your relationship with the picture. So what is like, for instance, my favorite painting, I have no idea who painted it. I can't remember, to be honest, but I distinctly remember it because I loved it so much when I looked at it. It was at the Prado in Madrid and it was just called Snow, and it was literally just swirling white lines, and
Mhm.
I couldn't stop staring at it. There was something about the way that the light, I felt the light moving across it. And I think that I put a lot of me into it. Like it was me looking back at myself, which sounds strange. So what about you in the painting?
Yeah, so yeah, I thought it was intimidating at first because of the dark colors. Yeah, but then after hearing about his experience while painting it, I came to appreciate him more. Came to appreciate his painting more. I thought the dark colors portray his very dark mental state at the time.
Portrayed? Mhm.
Portrayed, yeah. I think no other artist came close to Van Gogh's brilliance, and I thought um, even though there are
No
other
other artist has come close.
no other artist has come close to Van Gogh's brilliance. Even though there are other artists who imitate his art style right now, I think, yeah, he is second to none when it comes to painting with acrylic colors. Yeah, and in his pictures and the emotions behind them are so raw that I feel like I can stare at them for hours on end and just reflect on my life, thinking
Do
about
you
them.
really like it? Is this true? Or are you just thinking of a picture that came to mind?
No, I am not that invested in this picture at all.
Yeah.
But I just make up shit.
Yeah. You've never just like, I don't know, looked at a pretty picture and thought, I really want
Yeah,
to hang that.
I thought it was pretty, but it doesn't really evoke this strong feelings in me at all.
Yeah. I mean, the strategy wasn't bad. You had enough, but the flow was a bit interrupted because it wasn't entirely genuine. Just, start thinking about anything. Like, for instance, I remember once I saw, like, I was walking by an art gallery and it was just featuring an artist who painted windows. And I remember it because I remember there was this one with a like white wall and blue window seal, looking out onto a beach scene. And I think there was like the blue of the ocean wasn't quite the same blue as the window seal. And it created this really great depth. And I loved it. I loved it so much that I remember it like 20 years later. And I don't know who painted it or who bought it or what became of that picture. I know that I couldn't afford it. But you see how I'm just flowing, but it's real, it's genuine. It's what I really feel.
I think
Yeah.
your strategy, your rambling strategy coincides with what the guy in that graded me said. He said I should focus more on fixing the problems first, and then in the real test, I just need to focus on fluency.
Yeah.
The fluency is
Okay, I have
top priority, yeah. Okay.
sorry, I have a private lesson. It starts right now and I have to open up because she's
Oh,
in China, so to open up
wow.
WeChat. So I'm doing it right now. Sorry, girl. But yeah, we'll keep working on that. Keep giving me any guidance. I love it because then it helps me be better for you.
All
Have
right.
a good week. Bye.